When the ecosystem was not ready, internet was not ready in India, and you guys took the plunge to start IndiaMart, what was the initial years like?
Every place that we would go, the first thing that we had to explain was what is internet. A lot of times we were thrown out of customers' offices saying that tum log fraud ho.
When you start with an idea which is way ahead of its time, obviously the business even struggles to survive.
After first 6 months, I think we decided we should quit and go back home.
Do you ever find business owners who meet you and they realize you're from IndiaMart and they say, "तुम लोग बहुत calls करके परेशान करते हो यार." How do you deal with that?
I love it.
As micro businesses or small businesses, when we hear the word board, we get intimidated. We have to educate them on what is a board, at what stage do you need a board.
Board is nothing but a set of individuals who actually become people who would be a coach to you. All of us need a coach.
Sometimes we fall into the trap of being the most intelligent person on our team. Tell me, where did this thought or inspiration come of hiring people?
We always hired B.Tech engineers and MBAs, even for the smallest of the jobs. See, every person that you get inside your company, you are investing in that person by coaching them about the business.
What's the next peak for IndiaMart? They've stood the test of time to emerge as one of the few profitable and public listed internet businesses in India. My intention of inviting him here is because over the last 4 months, I've had the fortune of seeing his operating style. That if each and every one of you understand the thought process and the structure, you will be able to build some amazing systems through the no-nonsense approach of management and leadership that he carries. Ladies and gentlemen, I want each and every one of you to help me extend a very warm and high-energy Proficorn welcome to Brijesh Agarwal, everyone. Welcome, Brijesh, to Proficorn.
Thank you, everyone. By the way, I wrote a WhatsApp text to Rajiv in the morning that ever since yesterday night that I come in here, I feel like a king. I've never had that kind of an experience ever in my life. Thank you so much.
You see, that first line itself is a learning. How many of you realize that? There's a lesson there. The simplicity with which he's gone about building a legendary organization, and then he says, "Why am I being treated like a king?" I think you deserve every bit of it, Brijesh. So one big round of applause for Brijesh. So this is not Coffee with Karan, this is Ruh Afza with Rajiv. Okay? So Brijesh, my first question. Room full of MSMEs. This is essentially the ecosystem you have served and supported for over 2 decades now. And I'm sure how many of you here are aware of IndiaMart? Raise your hands. Okay. There you go. Okay.
Some who are still not aware about it.
Now they are aware.
More work to do.
How many of you here have utilized IndiaMart and is a critical contributor to your business? Keep that hand up, keep that hand up. Look around you. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, Brijesh, IndiaMart is a name that pretty much every MSME in the country knows, and so many MSMEs owe their growth to IndiaMart. So tell us about how and when did the seeds of the idea emerge, and a little bit about the background of yourself and your co-founder Dinesh Agarwal.
So I'll take one step back. I'll just let me explain the family background that I come in from so that you will be able to put all of these things in perspective.
Yep.
I come from a joint family, traditional Marwadis. My grandfather migrated from Rajasthan to a small town in UP. 57 of us used to live in one house.
Wow.
So, I have 20 cousins, all put together. My grandfather had 11 kids, so good, nice, large family. And we had a trading business. So we used to sell petroleum products, fertilizers, pesticides, because this town called Nanpara is on the Nepal border. And that entire area is an agricultural area. There's nothing else that happens there. So most of the family members were involved in that business. And obviously, living together means that you will get to know what is happening in anyone's life every single day. So within my generation, I am the fourth brother, in terms of age. So the number two brother, he lost his father-in-law in Patna, and his son actually found shares of some English company while he was cleaning up the Almirah. And this is 95, by the way. So somebody told him that these shares are worth millions. And millions at that time was like crores, which are there today. So he got excited and he said, let me find out how to sell these shares and get that money. And that request also came to us. Remember, 95, there was no internet. Telephone lines were not available with everyone. You had a year-long queue to get a landline connection. In order to do an STD, you will have to book a trunk call, right? And then get connected. Timed call for 2 minutes, right? This is what you have to pay. And beyond that, you will hear some lady saying, call khatam hone wali hai, phone rakho, right? That kind of a scenario. So we started looking at finding information as to how to really sell it. The obvious way we knew about at that time was to start reaching out to fellow Marwadis who were within our own network in Bombay and in Calcutta, because these were two cities where you had stock exchanges and people really knew about shares. Almost 1.5 months had gone by. We couldn't find literally anything which was meaningful at all. And then one evening I was having a chat with my elder brother Dinesh, who was in US at that time. He's a software engineer and he was working for HCL America there. Over the call, I happened to mention to him about this problem, and I said, can any of your friends in US help us find information about this company? So he said, okay, why don't you just hold on for some time? Let me see if I can help you with it. So I said, Bhaiya, one call cost 100 rupees a minute. Can I call you back again? He said, no, it won't take a lot of time. Just hold on. And within about 10-12 seconds, he was back on the call. And he said that, look, this is a company which was listed on London Stock Exchange. It went bankrupt 4 years ago. This is the business that company did. This was the CEO of that business. And he just went on and on, giving you details about the business which you were trying to find for all those 1.5 years. So he said, these shares are worthless now. You can throw them in the dustbin. Now, at that time, while we were having this conversation, the shares were a different issue. The first question then that I asked him is, how did you find all of this so soon? And that was the first time, by the way, that I had heard about internet. And that was the first moment when it struck in our minds that how powerful this whole medium is going to be, because it can give you access to information, just at the click of a button in seconds, and regarding, anything and everything that you really want to. And that is when we fell in love. The first love of our life, by the way, was internet at that time, right? We were infatuated to the extent that we decided to start a business on 1st of April 1996 on a Fool's Day. We were really, in literal terms, we were fools to start at that time, because India only had 500 internet connections, internet connections across India, 500 by that time. Internet actually in India was launched on 15th August 95. And 7.5 months later, we had started off with an internet company, thinking that we'll do well.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, in an era where internet like when you are speaking, I am thinking about if there's a 21-year-old sitting over here and he's wondering, how many centuries ago was this? Right? Yeah, okay. And I was like, wow, that was another era. So tell me something. When the ecosystem was not ready, internet was not ready in India, and you guys took the plunge to start IndiaMart. What was the initial years like? What were those challenges and experiences you went through?
Okay, so number one, while we were, as I said, we were infatuated or we were in love with internet, we said we'll start this business. But as soon as we hit the ground, the reality was there in face of us. Every place that we would go, the first thing that we had to explain was what is internet, right? And there was no way we could explain it because they didn't have a telephone line. Modems were very expensive to buy. You couldn't carry a modem with you. And then it'll take hours for you to connect to the internet. And nobody was using it here in India, literally. So how do you really explain what is internet? In fact, a lot of times we were thrown out of customers' offices saying that, "Tum log fraud ho." Right? But anyway, the first 6 months, by the way, went by and we could not sign up with even one single customer.
And what was the offering you were offering at that time?
So our value proposition there was that there are buyers in Europe and in US who were using internet. We will connect them with exporters in India. And at that time, handicrafts and textiles used to be quite a big export focus area here. So these guys, these exporters here can find a buyer, and then in turn, we would be able to charge them a subscription money for doing this entire exercise. So we would go ahead and do this by building up a website for them, doing the SEO, so that we are able to generate business inquiries. This is what was the value proposition.
So essentially you were like, we'll help you build a website, we'll help you optimize for search, and we will get you business from outside of India.
Correct. That is how it was.
And obviously people didn't comprehend what internet is, so...
Kaise karoge was the biggest question. So they understood what we are going to do, but how would you do it? And do you have a proof of it? It was the obvious questions that they had. And I was 19 and a half then. My elder brother was 26. So, and if you look at our faces, we still don't look our age. So that was another problem, by the way, at that time.
So tell me something. When you start with an idea which is way ahead of its time, obviously the business even struggles to survive. So were there any near-death experiences for the business that you had in those initial days, and how did you kind of overcome or navigate them?
Sure. Can I just put one slide on this so that
Okay.
people can see this?
Yeah. Team, can we have the slide? Yeah.
So by the way, we've had near-death experiences not once or twice, but 5 times that I've written it down here.
Okay.
And the latest one was 2017, 2 years before our IPO.
Wow.
Right, so I think most of the entrepreneurs here can relate to this because at no point in time are you sure that you will just continue to survive. This can come in different shapes and forms. So first 6 months, no business. Marwadi family, the first question that you would ask yourself is, if I'm not making money, then why am I into this business? Right, because what was not allowed inside our home is to burn money, is to take any loan, or is to take money from anybody. Not allowed, barred. Right? I think in our entire lifetime, we just took a loan once from a bank to build up our office building, and we were scolded heavily at home. And then when we raised our first round of VC capital, half of the people were happy and half of the people was, why did you take money from somebody else?
Okay.
Right. So, but then after first 6 months, I think we decided we should quit and go back home because we have a business there. At least we can do something there. My grandfather, he was against the idea that we come and join the family business because there were a lot of people already in that business. So he said, if you guys also come in here, none of you will be able to do justice to the business. You will fight amongst yourselves. So don't come back here. But he also realized that, we were young, we were desperate, and we were not able to do anything here in the first 6 months. So he said, okay, let me ask you a couple of questions, and then based upon that, let's take a call what needs to be done. And by the way, this was the first and the biggest learning in our life with respect to business that we got. So his first question was that I don't know what is internet, I don't know what you guys do. But whatever you do, is it useful? Is it beneficial for anybody? Right? That was his first question. Is it going to bring any benefit, any value to somebody? So we said, yes, it is going to bring in value. Exporters, do not have many avenues of acquiring customers. So this is going to work for them. She said, okay. The second question was, it is you who thinks that they will benefit, or it is they who think they will benefit? And that was a bouncer. So at first I couldn't understand what does this question actually mean. So I asked my Dadaji to just explain this to me again. So he did explain me what he meant by it. And then, we obviously went ahead and told him that we've met different customers. All of those customers who've listened to us, they've said that the idea looks interesting, there is merit in it, but why don't you do this for 5-10 customers first, and then I will sign up with you. So, once he listened to this, he said, no, if both of these two things are true, then I don't see any reason why you should quit and come back. It's only a matter of time before you find those 5 or 10 generous folks who will believe in you, right? And once you've done this for them, you can go to the rest of all of these guys, right? They're just like a funnel or a pipeline for you, which is ready to be converted into a customer. So unless you get those 5 or 10, first set of believers in you, right? I will fund your fooding, I will fund your stay. And if you are too tired of traveling in buses and autos, I'll also send you my Maruti 800 car so that you don't come back here. Right? He never wanted us to be there at all. Right? And had it not been for him, I think we would have gone back.
Awesome. So, two powerful questions. That was brilliant. I'm just still soaking in it for myself. So now I'm going to kind of zoom out and we'll go back and forth into the journey that IndiaMart has had. So here's my other question. You started as someone who was building websites, offering SEO to exporters. Internet has transformed a lot, right? And you started in 1996, which means that right now IndiaMart is in its 27th year. Internet has changed a lot in the last 27 years. Businesses have evolved a lot on the internet in the last 27 years. How have you managed to stay relevant in the last 27 years? Can you take us through how the product has evolved? Because at the end of the day, today, people will say, yeah, I'll get a website developed anywhere. So how has the product evolved?
So the idea that we started off with was that we will build a digital version of a exporter's yellow page to begin with. But as I said, there were only 500 internet users. So we realized this cannot be done at this point in time. So in order to continue to stay in the business, we started building website and doing SEO and doing lead gen for the exporters. That was a stopgap arrangement that we actually started off with because we had to do something to be there in the business. By 2001-2, there was enough amount of awareness that was created. So we started building up the international marketplace where exporters from India will get listed. They will have their product catalogs. And buyers from outside India will come in and send inquiries to them. We built that business out until about 2009-10. But 2008, Lehman Brothers had happened. And manufacturing in India wasn't going anywhere. So we said that, and by the way, we had reached about 50 crores of turnover by that time period. So we said this business may not necessarily grow beyond this. And then we flipped the business to become a domestic B2B focused business because the domestic market had started to do very well. So we flipped that business then in 2009-2010 period. We then found our product market fit in 2014. So 18 years after we started, we found our product market fit.
So
which is what VCs want you to do the first thing, by the way, before you raise money from them.
So it took you 18 years to figure out who is the right customer, what is the right product.
What is the right product? How will we really go back and serve them well? And how will we scale up this business?
Awesome. Fantastic. That is crazy.
But that's the business we are in today, by the way. What you see of us today is what we started to build in 2009, 2010.
And Brijesh, one of the things, one of my objectives of having you here is, of course, we all know IndiaMart, and now we are getting the advantage of seeing the journey of IndiaMart. But I believe one of the strengths I have seen, or what I have learned from whatever time I've spent with you, is the transition from a business to a company, from a business to an organization. Because technically you're like a family business, you are a family business, but how do you institutionalize a family business? What are those key things that you need to take care of, and in your journey, how did that happen?
So, like most of the entrepreneurs here, we would also be running a typical family business where there's very little differentiation between a professional way of running a business versus whatever were the personal aspirations there. In 2008, December, we raised our first round of VC fund from Intel Capital. And they helped us set up our board of directors at that point in time, because they were an institutional investor. They wanted to ensure that the business is run well. And they helped us get 3 of the best board members I could have ever imagined in my life. So one was Nachiket More, who was the deputy MD of ICICI Bank at that time. So between him and Chanda Kochar, one had to become the CEO. Chanda Kochar became the CEO. He became the president for ICICI Foundation. He decided to come on board. Deep Kalra, the CEO of Make My Trip, he decided to come on board. And PN Vijay, who was an ex-CEO of Citibank in India, he came on board. And it's the Intel team which actually helped us build that board out, because I can't even imagine getting such senior folks as board of directors at a company which was doing 52 crores in turnover at that time. Now, these guys had actually seen businesses which were larger scale businesses. ICICI Bank by that time had already become a very, very large business. Citibank anyway was a very large business. And Deep had scaled up Make My Trip by that time. So when these guys came in, they actually started to help us understand those smaller things which are critical of building an institution or an organization rather than just running a business altogether. And one of the first things that they were able to do is transformed our own thinking on how we can scale the business. I still remember in one of the meetings, Nachiket More, and he's a very aggressive guy. Acha, ye kaam kal kyun nahi hua? Was his question. What you will think today, ye kal kyun nahi gaya tha? That's the kind of approach. So he said, why don't you prepare the wildest plan that you can think of for growing your business in the next 2 years? Whatever wildest plan you can think of. Right? So we made something. That was the first time we actually put down something on paper. And then we presented to him, and he sensed that we were not very convinced with that plan. So he said that, do you have any hesitation in believing that this will work? I said, yeah, I don't think this is going to work. This is aspiration. And what it also meant was that we would start to burn some cash while trying to grow that fast. And we said, we don't want to burn cash. We've never burned cash in our lives. Even though we have VC money, it doesn't mean that we will burn it. So he said, you will not be able to burn anything. I am confident. You start doing this, I know you cannot burn anything. Right? But if you burn, I am standing behind the back. None of the board members will ever come back and tell you why did you burn it. Right? So he, in fact, instilled that confidence that even if you want to think big, if the basic principle philosophies that you've instilled in yourself and in the organization, if they are there, it is not necessary that you will go that wrong route, which tons of other companies have already gone on. So he instilled that confidence. Second, all of these guys put together taught us how to run a business without being in the office, which means structuring MIS, putting data points that you need to track on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a fortnightly basis. So in fact, one of the mandates that was given to us is you will not come to office for 1 month and show me how to run this business, right? So that was the other thing that really came in well. Third was that we need to get professionals in, senior folks in, people who've seen larger size businesses. So people who've seen businesses which are, let's say, 500 crores, 700 crores in size, because if we hire somebody who had managed a business which was 50, 60 crores, how do we expect us to benefit from them towards scaling 10x from there? He said, you need somebody who's seen that, right? Take help from that guy to build this out. So, the confidence that we should go ahead and hire such folks and the need for hiring such folks essentially got instilled from them. So broadly, three major things that were taken by us from that board at that time were building a great quality senior leadership team, looking at a plan which was more aggressive, following that, and having confidence that we will be able to go back and do. And third is to use data, measure, monitor, manage. This is how to really go ahead and do that without being involved into the minutest of the decision-making process. And by the way, it didn't mean that we were not hands-on. We are hands-on even today, right? I would know at the end of the day how many customers signed up, how many customers churned, what was today's revenue, right? What is it that we spent today? What was the cash flow situation? We still get that data. I would still have that data for yesterday, which came today morning, right? So we are not hands-off, but we are not there at the office.
Yeah.
Right? Just by looking at those 10 parameters every day, we are able to sense where could be a potential problem. So I think these were three big learnings that we had at that time.
Yeah, because I think one of the most important things you've influenced me on personally is the idea of setting up a board. So we are going to now dumb it down a little bit, make it a little more basic. Here's a room full of MSME business owners. And if you have to sell them the idea, firstly, if you have to educate them on what is a board, at what stage do you need a board, and how can it add value? How would you break that down for a group of MSME business owners?
Okay, so let me, maybe instead of just saying a board, what is a board typically? A board is nothing but a set of individuals who actually become people who would be a coach to you, right? Or a mentor to you. That is what you typically expect from a board. A board is not going to come and do business for you. They will not go and sell for you, right? You would want to learn from their wisdom, right? And learn, number one, what not to do. What to do again, most of the times, the board will not have an answer.
Okay.
Right? You will have to go and find the answer. They are not running your business. You are running your business. But the board will essentially set down the parameters. One, what not to do for sure, because they've done it and it hasn't worked. Second, they will set the direction straight. Things like building up a team, things like using data to manage business, things like look at how to build processes. Those are things which we didn't know. Or let's say as small businesses, we don't know about it. We've never had the need to do it. But there are people who've looked at larger businesses. They will come in that and say, if you have to build a large business like this, this is what you definitely need to do at this stage. So I think setting up a board in that sense, if you were to look at, I would say finding coaches or mentors for you is very important. And that is true at every stage of the business. I wouldn't say that if you are a 5 lakh turnover business, you don't need a mentor. I would still say you need a mentor. You may not need a mentor who's built a 500 crore business. You may need a mentor who would have built up a 1 crore business at that stage, because growing from 5 lakhs to 1 crore is a long journey anyway. So wherever you are, find somebody who has seen 10x of where you are at this point in time. That could be a good thumb rule for you to figure out, and get those people as mentors, right? And this is something.
I think that's an important point to note down, because I'll tell you what, sometimes, and I'm just talking on behalf of this group, that as micro businesses or small businesses, when we hear the word board, we get intimidated. Like, how many of you get intimidated, think, wo kya hai? Hamare board par kaun baithega? Hum khud hi bored hai life mein. Okay, right? You get intimidated when you hear that. But I think you've given a great thumb rule saying, look at people who have done 10x of what you've done. That's your next milestone. Learn from them. I think that is a very simple, actionable thing that everybody can take back from here.
Just 1 second. Can you just put on this slide, please, which I've just put on? Deepak ji, sorry, I borrowed this idea from you yesterday. कुछ दिमाग में exchange हो गया था. You said this a while ago. I am repeating this. All of us need a coach. Even today, I would need a coach. I continue to look for a coach for me. There are people who would be, 10 times, 100 times better than me at certain things. I would want to learn from them. If you don't have one right now, I'm saying as you walk out of this door, please go ahead and find one. It's that critical.
You mentioned another point about hiring people who have seen bigger things than you.
Correct.
And again, I think, again, as business owners, sometimes we fall into the trap of being the most intelligent person on our team. So tell me, where did this thought or inspiration come of hiring people who have seen bigger things than you? And is there like an anecdote or a person who you believe came in, okay, and probably came in at a cost that was unimaginable for you to even afford, but transformed the business for you?
So I'll share two things. One is on the senior folks, and the other is in general. When we started off also, by the way, and when we didn't have a board, we've had a certain philosophy on the kind of people that we would really work with. One, we've always emphasized quality of people over the cost, right? If you look at the ratio of quality to cost, it is always better when you have a better quality person. Their cost, they turn out to be the cheapest folks in the world then at that time. And when I say quality over cost, one of the things that we did was we always hired B.Tech engineers and MBAs, even for the smallest of the jobs, right? So we used to do data upload from local computer to the web server, which was like, pick up the file from here and drop it there in the other window. Even for doing that job, we had a B.Tech engineer that we had hired. Obviously, we had to pay a higher cost, but we said that when you have these folks coming in, their scalability is quite high. See, every person that you get inside your company, you are investing in that person by coaching them about the business. That investment is super expensive, right? That guy is not very expensive. Your investment, your time, your effort, that is super expensive. Now, if that person does not scale or does not stay with you for 4 or 5 years, this investment goes waste. So you need to have people who can scale with you, and that's why we did this. Second, we were very selective with hiring people. Our selection ratios were 5%. We will meet 100 and only select 5. We ran like an interview machine inside the office. Every Sunday, right, for 10 or 12 hours directly, we would only do interviews. Only interviews. And we were doing like 50, 60, 100 interviews per person every day, right? It's so much so that we made it a templatized format कि 20 minute में interview कैसे करना है, right? And this is what we went ahead and did. This was followed for people who were coming in from outside, or they were our relatives or from the family, everyone. We never hired anybody whom we did not interview, never ever. And if they didn't cut through the interview, they were not hired, whether they came in from the family itself. Wow. Never ever. So this was one thing that we followed. On the senior leadership, as I said, we had this idea when the first board was set up in 2009 for us. Now, in FY 2010, which is March 2010, we did about 60 to 63 crores of turnover. And at that time, we built up a senior leadership team to whom, on an aggregate, we paid about 3 crores a year, which was 5% of the total revenue, not the margin, total revenue was paid as fixed salaries for these people. And one single individual, by the way, we ended up paying 2.5%, 1.5 crores of salary. Plus, obviously, we had ESOPs given out to him. I think 3% of the company at that time. So, good people seem to be expensive like that. But when we were at 60 crores is when we spent 3 crores a year in salaries for getting that senior team set up.
This is only for the senior leadership.
Only, these were what, 4 folks put together. That's it. And one of those folks, as I said, was 1.5 crores. So the other 3 were 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs each.
And this is of revenue, so it's not of profitability as well.
No, this is straight off from your margins.
Okay.
This is off the revenue.
Okay.
We tried to do this in the first attempt. By the way, we failed. All the senior guys that we hired, they all left in 6 months. In fact, one guy left us in 6 days itself. He didn't even wait beyond that. So we obviously learned what do we need to do to get these guys in. It's not easy to get good guys and retain with you, right? And the problem is not with them. The problem is with us. We always say we are hiring people and they don't stay with us. It's not their issue. It's always our issue. We don't know how to retain them, right? So, in fact, we did this. But the good thing that we learned is when these guys came in, they had looked at businesses which were large-scale businesses. So, for example, our current COO was that guy whom we had hired in 2011 then. He was the CEO for the Western Hub for Reliance Infocom, managing a business of, if I remember correctly, 5,000 crores.
And you brought him into a 60 crore per annum company.
Okay. We had to pay through our nose, as I said, right? Giving 3% of the company to him at that time, plus this salary, etc. But we got him here. He had circle CEOs. I think some 6 or 8 circle CEOs used to report to him. But when he came in, right, he taught us what does it take to build a business of that size and scale in terms of processes, in terms of systems. Without him, we would not have been able to scale that up.
And let's look at, when you hired him, you were 60 crores. What's the revenue of the business as on last year?
So we crossed 1,000 crores of revenues. And by the way, our revenues are subscription revenues. It is not, we don't sell anything. This is the money that we collect from every SME as an annual subscription, that if you want to get leads from IndiaMart for a year, pay us that money. That is 1,000.
How many paying customers do you have currently?
It will be about 210,000 plus.
I think what you are giving us, Brijesh, is a perspective of going from micro and small to big. How many of you agree to that? Yes? Like the entire idea and the thought, I think it's the philosophy that we want to pick from here, right? That you got to think where you want to be. I love what Suren said this morning. Earlier we had Suren speaking and he said you are always building 2 businesses. The current business that you are building and the business you want to become. And I think Brijesh is kind of connecting the dots for all of us, that for you to become the business you want to become, you got to bring in people who've seen things that you haven't seen so they can kind of pull you up and elevate you. So thank you for that insight and perspective. I'm sure that all of us are like, हाँ अभी ये करना ही है. Awesome.
And one more thing, if I can
take
please a minute. Please do. I just listed down some of these philosophies. So 2 of that I've spoken about already. But these are other things that we've learned during the whole process of building up IndiaMart. One is that when we look at margins in our business, we say this is the revenue, this is the cost, and therefore this is the margin. In my opinion, the margin should not be looked into like this. this is the margin that we are able to realize from a customer today. The real margin of the business is what is the value of your service or product to the customer, right? How much cost do you spend in delivering that product or that service to the customer? That is the potential margin that you will ever have in your business. So theoretically speaking, if you make something for 10 rupees and the customer believes that the value that they get is 100 rupees, you can build up a 90% margin business, right? That is how it works. For us, every single business, according to our philosophy, that one should look at this value first. Higher the margin, potential margin, higher will be the chances that you are able to build a solid business. Lower this margin, you can continue to put whatever efforts behind it. You will not be able to break through this, right? This is something which is a fact. We just don't see it upfront. So this is a very important metric that all of us can very quickly assess about the business.
So basically you're saying, it's not what you are charging the customer as a subscription. You are looking at the impact of that subscription on the customer's business, which you can kind of validate and say, hey boss, if you take this subscription from us, you can generate this much. And that is your range on which you're calculating how much you can scale up your billing with the customer over a period of time.
See, if Lakshya scales from 8 to 23 in a year, right? Imagine what is the value that they get out of a 10 lakh rupee course from you. Let's look at that. The value of that, right, will determine what kind of margin you can ever have in your business.
Guys, we are increasing coaching fees. Yeah. Team, change the payment links. Yeah.
The other thing which is very important is, and this is a question that most of us as small businesses, will have for us. How do I retain people? How do I retain good people? Right? And one answer obviously is pay them more and they will get retained. Our experience is just paying them more doesn't retain people. The biggest thing that we have experienced in our lives, how we've been able to retain people, is by showing them what is it that they can do inside the business, which will impact our customers and how big that is. So for example, we always shared with them what internet could do to human beings, right? And everybody sort of bought into that idea that, look, I am getting into a company which, if this is what internet can do for human beings, will have the potential of becoming a very, very large company.
I remember you mentioning to me once that your initial sales team had no fixed salary.
Yeah, zero salaries, which were fixed salaries. Everything was fully variable.
And that was because they bought into what they're going to be a part of, which is going to make a bigger difference. Wow.
Right. So that is another thing. And by the way, this is something that we need to find out about our business. If we ourselves would come back and say that in my business, there is no possibility of something which will be a very large breakthrough growth one could see, your people also will not see it. And everybody wants to be with a winner. Nobody wants to be with somebody who doesn't, grow. Everybody wants to work with Amitabh Bachchan in that sense, right? So you will at least have to have a dream, which is a factual, possible dream altogether there. Third, I've also understood very clearly, for most of us, VCs don't come to us. They will not invest in our business. And as much as possible, please never take money from anybody else. I would still propagate that thought process. If you don't need it, don't take it. Our ability to take risks is equal to the money that you have in your bank. So if you want to take bigger risks to grow your company, first grow the cash in your bank. Your risk-taking ability will automatically grow. Right? There's nothing better than that. So please always monitor how much cash do you have in the bank, which you're not using for your personal use, which is there for the business forever. If that is not growing, your risk-taking ability is not growing. And your growth essentially will get hampered. So that's another thing that one should look at. And lastly, which is again always a philosophy, that I don't think frugality is is a choice. Every business owner, has to be frugal.
Yep.
Why do you want to spend more when you can do it with less? But a lot of times, people, go to the other end of being foolish. Right now, what is frugal and what is foolish? Let's say if I were to hire a senior guy at the stage of a business when I was doing 60 crores and pay them 1.5 crores plus 3% equity in the company, this in no sense seems to be frugal,
Yep.
right? But if I don't pay it and I don't get that guy, I will never be able to become a 500 crore business, and therefore for me that is foolish. So therefore, even this decision to spend more is actually being frugal. Right? And there is a very sharp difference between being frugal, being foolish. Don't be foolish, but be frugal always. You can always, for example, as I said, not be treated like a king and save money. So I'll say save money.
So essentially you're saying is frugality is to evaluate the impact your investment or expenditure can have, and if there is an upside to it and doing it, even if it sounds foolish, it's actually frugality.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Yeah.
That is frugal. But see, wherever ROI is high, this is frugal.
Yeah.
Do it.
So yeah, I think that just makes so much sense. Awesome. I know you're a systems man, okay? And I've seen how the minutest of details get monitored when you are in charge. So break down for, again, this group over here, the importance and the impact. See, everybody tells every business owner, build systems, build systems. We keep harping on it. Karan's life is dedicated to make this happen for businesses. So break down for us the impact of systems in your journey.
So again, we were building up a business where sales essentially was the key driver of growth for us. We were a sales company. We had to just sell because making the product was very easy. Now, for a sales company, we realized very early again in our life that if we do not measure and monitor these guys, we will not be able to scale. And I'll tell you an example. A typical sales guy will always come in, maybe at best fill up a DSR, daily sales report, which you will look at it. When you look at the DSR over, let's say, a month or 2 months period, and you see what is the entry that they've done for one single customer, whom they would have met multiple times, you will see contradictory remarks being put in there. Right? At one time, they would come back and say, this is a hot prospect. The other time, they will go back and say that, I need to set up a meeting with the owner. Now, without meeting the owner, how did you even classify somebody as a hot prospect? It's not possible because the decision maker is not met yet. So, since we thought we were being fooled, we started to invest behind building up of what you call today as a CRM. We used to call it as a sales tracking system, STS, then. And to build that, we spent 20 lakh rupees in 2002 when our turnover was 2 crores. So 10% of our revenues were spent only in building that software. Now to build that software again, we had to get somebody who was senior enough to understand the whole process. We got a guy and we gave him 5% equity of the company to him then because he was a very senior techie to really come in at that time. Right? We paid him very less in terms of salary, but we gave him high equity. So whatever is required to measure the data and track everything, right? It is priceless according to me. There's no money that can ever sort of say that this is expensive. You pay whatever you want to pay, get that in. And I'll tell you where did it sort of started to impact. One, when we started to look at data, we figured out that if my sales guy was meeting 100 companies who were in pharma versus 100 companies who were in garments versus 100 companies in auto spare parts, my conversion rate in case of pharma was 30% plus, whereas my conversion rate in case of automobile spare parts was just 5%. So if I only had a limited amount of resources, I said, why are we really looking at auto spare parts? Why not just focus on pharmas? So we said we will set up our office only in those areas where there are large number of pharma companies. So selection of office locations actually happened with this data, not with this aspiration that we will set up everything in metros and then in tier 1 cities and then in tier 2 cities. No. Our first choice has to be which are the cities where you have largest number of manufacturing companies in pharma. Pick those up, set up an office there. In fact, so much so, we used to have pin code wise data of companies. So the exact location of the office was where we had the highest concentration of pharma companies in a 10-kilometer radius. So we pinpointed that. We actually had opened up one office every week for 52 weeks in 2014. And 85% of those offices, by the way, were successful, profitable in the first year because of this data.
Data is king, as they say.
Correct. And the important thing, by the way, is, again, this is, we've understood while building IndiaMart, is you will have to specify what do you want to measure. Nobody will come and tell you what to measure for your business. If you don't know what to measure, right, then pray that you get to know that soon. No consultant, no mentor can do this for you because you are in the business day in, day out. You need to know what to measure. And for everything that cannot be measured directly, there will be an indirect measure. So let's say if you cannot, measuring the number of visits a salesperson is doing on a day-to-day basis is absolutely fine, right? But whether that conversation was a good quality conversation or a bad quality conversation, now how do you measure that? You don't have recordings of those bits. So in order to measure that, we said, okay, tell us 3 inputs. Did you meet the owner of the business? Did you discuss pricing of the product? Right? If you tell me this, I will know whether it was a good quality discussion or a bad quality discussion. That's a proxy. It will not be accurate, but there is a proxy way of doing it. So I'm saying for us to assess what to measure is very important because the sharper you are at it, the better you will be able to manage and grow the business.
Brijesh, at the risk of putting you in an awkward spot, I want to ask you this question. Do you ever find business owners who meet you and they realize you're from IndiaMart and they say, "तुम लोग बहुत calls करके परेशान करते हो यार." Okay. How do you deal with that?
I love it. So, by the way, that was the cheapest marketing tool that we could ever put in the market. One, we will keep calling everybody who has put a lead or a request for a query on the IndiaMart platform. You would have been harrowed by our teams, right? And we are super good at it. We'll keep following you unless you come back and tell us that, yes, I have already bought the product from somebody on IndiaMart, or I don't want to buy this product anymore. We will keep following you until that time period. So what it does is, by the way, while people feel that they are being bothered, when they go back and look at it and compare it with their experiences with everybody else in India, they will come back and say कि यार इन्होंने तो मेरे से पैसे भी नहीं लिए, and yet they kept on following up with me till my job was done. Right? Nobody does that. We want to do it. It is in our selfish interest. So I love it. Every time somebody says that, your guys keep following me, we are doing our job well.
I'm also very proud of my ads. People keep going, I see your ads every day. I said, it's a message from God. Sign up. Yeah. Awesome. Brijesh, you've, as a business, as a family-initiated and grown business, you've pretty much seen the transition, built a business, taken it to an IPO. You've seen the money, you've seen the impact on customers, you've seen the impact on an entire ecosystem. You've been able to build a brand. What do you wake up to every day after all this?
I don't. So initially when we started off the business, we started for money. And the goal was that if we can get to 10, 20 crores, I think that would be sufficient for us. Because coming in from the background, the crores was like crazy crores. But then I think we were very greedy. Our greed kept on increasing. So when we reached 10 crores, we said, now we should do 100 crores. 100 crores to theek hai, ab 500 crores. So I think that greed continues. But apart from that, I don't think there is anything that I woke up to. But I don't know what else to do, by the way. If you would ask me, what would you do if you don't have to go to office? I wouldn't have an answer for that. So,
And I think sometimes that's the simple driving force, right? Like, you don't have to have this articulate vision and mission. Sometimes it's just, this is what I'm good at doing, this is what I know how to do, and this is why I wake up every morning to do it. Yeah.
no, my family still keeps asking me, why do you leave for office at 8:30 in the morning and why do you come back at 9:30 in the night? Even now, I said, घर पे रहेंगे, पागल हो जाएंगे.
We have a program called And Life. I'll send you the invite. Okay. I'll definitely send you the invite for that. You'll have good enough reasons then.
By the way, the most amount of time that I ever spent with my kids was during COVID.
Yeah.
At least they now know that this is the father.
Okay. Did they enjoy it or did they say, "Aap office mein hi theek hai"?
No, my daughter loved it. My son said, office of अच्छे हो.
Okay. What's the next peak for IndiaMart? You've kind of scaled IndiaMart to a certain point. What's the next peak?
I think we've never aimed for any kind of a peak in that sense. And, frankly, we didn't have a vision of what this business could actually become in. We always saw what internet could go back and do for people, but we still don't have a vision of what this company will be 10 years down the line. But as a basic philosophy, we want to grow every year 20 to 30%. We want to be a company which has high margins. We today do about 30% EBITDA margins for us. On a cash basis, we generate about, 500 crores of cash every year. Yeah. So we want to continue with that. And by the way, in our own DNA, we realize that we are not one of those smartest guys in the world. Right? There are visionaries who would really bet behind something and make it big. Right? I don't think we have that DNA. We are guys who know how to, pick things as they come to us and then make the best out of it. We are very, very focused on how to do it well.
Yep.
So what we can do in the foreseeable 6 months, 12 months is what we really look at. We keep our eyes and ears open, but we do not plan for 10 years. We generally would go back and say, okay, so this is what is trending. Let's go and kill this first, one step at a time. And by the way, there are examples of both kinds of businesses that you will see.
Exactly.
People who would have built a transformational visionary company.
Yeah.
Let's say when you look at NVIDIA today,
yeah.
Right, the vision of doing parallel computing coming to you 25 years ago is incredible. That guy has given his life behind it. We are not that.
And I think it's important to derive comfort in who you are and what your style is. I think what you've done is you kind of reaffirm to everyone here that whoever you are, whatever your personality is, whatever your vision is, whatever your approach is, you can still make that work and build something of value.
In fact, in one of our strategy meets, just about a couple of weeks ago, one of the board members asked us that you've never stated a 10-year vision. You don't seem to be very aggressive. So my answer was, have we done that in the last 27 years ever? And yet we are here. Right? Is this a bad situation to be in? So there will be examples like that. We are not like that. हमसे नहीं होता. If you would ask us to write it down on a piece of paper, what will we do after 10 years? I don't know. If I don't know, I can't write it. If you were to ask me, what will I do in this year, which will help my growth increase or help my profit increase, I can write that down very clearly. And that is what we will focus on sharply.
Before we close, IndiaMart has, okay, this one. I think this one. Just try this one. Check. Okay. Before we close, any last words of wisdom, advice? You've given us a lot.
Can I have this slide, please?
Yeah.
This is the last bit. And I can bet my life, for most of us, this is true. We don't know what we can end up doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brijesh Agarwal, everyone. I must tell you how we connected. You should tell them how we connected. No, you should tell them how we connected. I received a message from Brijesh in May. Yeah. I received a message from him saying, hi, this is Brijesh Agarwal. We're from IndiaMart. And we've recently acquired a company called Busy. How many of you know about Busy? Raise your hands if you know Busy. Okay, so IndiaMart has acquired Busy. It's the second largest accounting software company in the country. Big round of applause for that. Yeah. And he said, we'd like to talk to you. I'm like, why is the co-founder of IndiaMart messaging me? And over the last 4-5 months, it's just been an honor and privilege for me to see, while Brijesh says they don't work on a vision, I think what they work on is a vision. It may not have like a 10-year plan, and like he said, it's about what we want to do now. For me, I'm getting first-hand view of how they've taken a legacy company like Busy. Busy was how many years old before you? It was a 25-year-old company. They acquired it, and how they are transforming a 25-year-old company into solving accounting problems for micro, small, and medium enterprise business owners and upgrading into a new age product. So I'm getting first-hand. It's like Sachin used to say, the best thing, Sehwag used to say, the best seat in the world is the non-striker's end. I have the non-striker's end at Busy because Brijesh has given me the honor and privilege to be on the board of Busy as an independent director. So just getting that, learning from him is phenomenal.
So if you were to look at it, look, I had to look for, again, somebody who understood the SMB space very well, who could relate to the financial or the accounting side of the business. Because accounting, by the way, is new for us. We've done it for IndiaMart, but we've never done an accounting software business altogether ever. And we needed a coach, right? We needed a mentor. So I started to hunt for that, and that's how I reached out to Rajiv. And second, by the way, look at how frugal am I. Maybe we will not pay Rajiv more than 10 lakhs in the whole year. And yet, I will have dedicated 10 days of his time at least in the whole year working for my business.
That's why I connect you to Monisha. She'll do the billing with you for consulting. But yeah, I'm telling you, for me, I think what's exciting is when you get an opportunity to be a part of the second best in the market, you have the runway to become the number one. And that's what I'm looking forward to with Busy. So yeah, thank you, Brijesh, for being here. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.